story recently was just arrested and made to take down all of his videos. It's a lot, but I'll give you the quick breakdown. So Brett is a young man who ends up getting approached by an older woman named Maria who asks him to be her sperm donor. She convinces him with paperwork and everything that it's all on the up and up. He's not going to be legally responsible for this child. Despite this arrangement and them only having a one-night stand to complete this arrangement, Maria ends up finding Brett's mom and grandma and tells them that she's pregnant with Brett's child and convinces them that he should be involved with the pregnancy. His mom and grandma now want to be a part of the baby's life, so they convince Brett that he should be too. So he agrees to start paying child support. But after a little over a year, having paid now $55,000 to this woman for this baby, he ends up taking a paternity test and finds out the baby isn't even his. Not only that, but Brett finds out that Maria likely knew who the real father was this entire time, but refused to disclose it because the real father was married to another woman at the time. Oops! So Brett goes to court for paternity fraud, asking for his name to be taken off the birth certificate, child support to end, and to be paid back for all the child support he did pay. In a kind of surprising victory, the courts actually do agree to end Brett's parental and child support obligations, but they don't make Maria pay him back, and I'm pretty sure his name is still on the birth certificate. The judge also assigns a mutual restraining order for the both of them, meaning that neither of them can ever talk about this case again. Basically a gag order. But according to Brett, Maria broke this order almost immediately by contacting his family, telling them that he's a deadbeat who abandoned his child. So Brett decides that he too is going to defy the order and clear his name, and that's when he made a multi-part series detailing all the lies, how he got played, and also his own mistakes along the way to help educate other men. I actually remember one interview where Brett was asked what he would tell his younger self if he could, and he said that if he had ever heard a story even remotely similar to what he went through, he would have never been in that situation. So his story does have the ability to prevent this from happening. But obviously, the courts don't want this story out there. Why? It just makes you wonder, especially when you consider that in other countries like France, it's actually illegal for men to perform paternity tests on their kids without the mother's permission because, in their words, it would destabilize the community. And honestly, this whole concept that you have to prove paternity fraud is also crazy to me because it's like, did she say the kid was his? Did the DNA test say that it isn't? Seems to me that there was pretty clear deception involved. But we do have to learn from this, and honestly, this is why a lot of guys are very hesitant to sign anything until they get that DNA test. This is also why I think it's really important for women to stop taking DNA tests so personally and making it this big relationship-ending deal. You should want to be able to offer your man that reassurance, and you should also want that reassurance yourself. After all, hospital switch-ups do happen to women too.
Okay. A lot to break down there. As for Brett, yeah, I'm very sorry about what happened to him. I am. Now, the courts are making him take down all the videos that he posted. Fortunately for all you guys, I kept a link in the description below to the original video that I reacted. Because we're not part of that court order. We're not. And as for his woman, Maria, well, let's go back here for a sec. As for the reason why there was that mutual, well, I can't really say it was a mutual restraining order for them to not talk about it or deny that it existed. But let's make something very clear. The reason why people didn't want this story out there, was to control the narrative. That, hey, women are pure and innocent little angels. Men are the source of all things evil on the planet. That's basically the narrative people wanted to control. And why they didn't want this story out there. And that's evident because, let's face it, Brett, he had all of the legal documents showing that, hey, this girl, Maria was the one who violated the order first. Like she did. Brett just was responding to her violating it. And yet, as far as we know, Maria's scot-free. Like, she has not been arrested. I don't think she's been arrested at all. But apparently Brett has. Now, this is important, everybody, for all of us to take note of. This is really important. And the reason why this is important is because This means there are actual legal documents out there of feminists taking this narrative to such an extreme, to the point where there's actual legal documentational evidence of government officials being corrupted. In this case, it's a court judge. And the reason why that is very significant, everybody, the reason why is because, historically speaking, when a hate movement, in this case, this male hate movement known as feminism, escalates to the point where it's succeeding in corrupting government officials, to the point where we have documentation, legal documents of it, historically speaking, that's when serious legal changes or legal reforms start being made. It really is. A prime example of this was the history of Martin Luther King. Quite literally. Now, the reason why for this is because it's one thing to just say, hey, there are certain government systems you don't trust because of this hate movement. It's another thing to have actual legal documentation to back up your claim. It really is. In order to have a stable government, you can't let that happen. Like, you really can't. And I'll be honest with you guys, we've already started to see. We really have. We already started to see legal reforms being made as a direct result of this. We have been. I've been seeing, like, in one state here in the West, passing a law saying that 50-50 custody in a divorce hearing will be mandatory. I heard of another state that is making paternity fraud a felony that's punishable by 5 years of jail time. Personally, I can honestly God see why a lot of state officials are responding to this case in this way. I honestly God can't. Because let's face it, everybody, like I said before, in order for you to successfully build a first world country, and for you to maintain a first world country economy status, you need a reproduction rate in your country of 2.0. Ours is below this. A case like this is going to make reproduction rates go down even further, because you're making it a very hard deal to sell to men to marry or have kids with women here in the West. You're making it an even harder deal to sell. And let's face it, if it goes down even further, our reproduction rates, that is, I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain we could end up in a population decline that's similar to the one that Japan is going through right now. Where, hey, there's actual ghost towns being made. Quite literally. Now, in case of you guys don't know how that ends up happening, fortunately for you, the Matthew and Carlene channel will go by it step by step. When you have men who are just steering away from entering relationships with women, who are basically saying that, like, hey, this is a bad deal, I'm not going to get into it, you end up causing something called a birth rate decline. Which in turn will cause a situation where elderly people are postponing retirement to keep the town economy afloat, essentially. That's basically step one. Step two is, hey, because you have elderly people postponing retirement, you have multiple companies in your hometown who are struggling to find new employees. Like, the unemployment rate goes pretty much up. Not because there's people who don't want jobs, but because, well, there's not really people in your town to take those jobs. There really is not. This also causes those exact same companies to want to increase prices on their products. But when that's not working, they'll start creating elaborate business deals to try to get more people to come to your stores and buy. Like, hey, on this day you get like 50 or 30% off this product. Now, that I believe is step 2. Step 3 of your town becoming a ghost town, which I'm sure you're going to see, is when this is going to happening is that, hey, you're going to see the property-wise, real estate speaking, become a very intense buyer's market that has no real visible end to it. And the reason why behind this is because people in your town are going to be moving out, elderly people are passing away, and your town's in a situation where you're just desperately trying to sell these houses or these properties. But you can't sell them because, hey, no one's willing to buy them right now because there's nothing there for people to thrive off of when they buy the property. This causes the owners of the properties to start shrinking down their prices, as well as creating massive payment offers, like insane payment deal plans to buy a property because you want to sell the property before it gets foreclosed. When that doesn't happen, you go into the next step, which is, I believe, is step 4. This step of your town becoming a ghost town is when you start seeing a rapid foreclosure rates. A foreclosure rate is when the banks take the property. And when the banks take the property, it's pretty much a first deal, first offer, first come service. It really is. And the reason why is because banks like managing money. They don't like managing property. They really don't. That's when you start seeing your town become a ghost town. And when your town officially becomes a ghost town, you then go into stage 5 of the ghost town phase, which is, hey, people take advantage of that rapid foreclosure rates. And they buy the property for prices that they're going to set themselves. Because, hey, it's a first deal, first service basis at that point. And when that happens, your town goes from a ghost town and being turned into something that the town originally wasn't originally built to be. Because, hey, your town's a ghost town, it's going to be turned into a brand new town now that all these other people have now officially bought all these foreclosed properties. That's literally what happens. So yeah, I can definitely see how a bunch of states are responding this way as a result of this case. And the biggest thing I want to point out here, is that the supposed girl, Maria is what she's called, I guess? Yeah, I got news for you. Everybody in the entire country is going to know that, hey, she's the one who started this. Including all the women of the feminist movement who are making their complaints online well known to these legal reforms. They all know, deep down, she's the one who caused this with this paternity fraud case. They all know. So yeah, she may not be in prison in a literal sense, but it is still a prison. Because this woman is going to be isolated, most likely. Because let's face it, men don't want anything to do with her because they know how dangerous she is. Women who are not feminists don't want anything to do with her because they see her as a threat to getting a potential husband. And women who do participate in the feminist movement and their supporters, they're most likely going to treat her like a deserter. They will. She may not be in a literal prison, but it still is a prison. It is. Now, personally, I think this guy should be released. I really think he should. And I'll be honest here, if the supposed feminist movement really did want gender equality, they would be protesting on the streets demanding this man get released immediately. They would. But we all know that's not going to happen because that will require the feminist movement to stop trying to promote the narrative on how women are the source of all things good and men are the source of all things evil. We all know that's not going to happen. My prayers go out for this man. It really does.